Well, all right. Well, Thanksgiving, as you just mentioned, is just a few days away. And while we are all getting ready for the turkey and the trimmings, let's not forget the family pets this holiday.
Absolutely. Dr. Joel Conn is joining us this morning from Pismo Beach Veterinary Clinic. Good morning. What are a few tips that you can tell us to keep our pets safe?
So we like to do a few kind of safety things for each major pet holiday, and Thanksgiving is certainly one of those. So a couple of things. One is starting with the turkey. So we'll start with go to the heart of the matter. So you know, it's not unnatural to want to offer a little bit of your turkey to your dog or your cat. Right. And actually, that's sort of okay as long as it's cooked. And we want to stay away from the bones and stay away from the skin, so the fatty things. And of course, we always recommend if you're going to give your pet a treat, put it in their dog bowl or cat bowl versus feeding them tableside to develop some unwanted behaviors. But turkey bones can be very brittle when swallowed, so not a good idea to give the drumstick or parts of the carcass or that kind of thing. Of course, raw turkey, just like for us, can cause food poisoning in dogs and cats. And just like with us too, you don't want to overfeed your pet, so stay away from the fatty parts of the turkey. It is, those can create problems too. But a little turkey under the table or in the dog bowl, preferably, is not such a bad thing. Cooked, okay. So sugar and spice. So this is kind of an interesting thing. I actually hadn't really seen this a lot before, but sage can actually be fairly toxic, and essential oils, which are often used in flavoring the Thanksgiving meals, can be fairly toxic as well. So you want to stay away from those kinds of things. The spices, they can be problematic. Actually, cause upset stomach. So again, if you're going to feed a little piece of turkey or something like that, again, kind of stay away from the outside, coating if possible. Baked goods are always a factor, and there's a couple of reasons why. Number one is especially raw dough. So uncooked dough, if an animal ingests it and ingests enough of it, it can actually, has been shown, it can rise sometimes in the stomach and create a problem. So it'll actually, the environment is appropriate there for that dough to rise and expand, creating an issue. So again, stay away from uncooked things in general. And again, things like eggs and stuff like that are in the dough can be, can create food poisoning if it's uncooked. And of course, things like chocolate and that kind of stuff on those baked goods. Little piece of bread, again, cooked bread, not the end of the world, but keep it minimal. One of the big factors on any of these family holidays is the stress and the guests and the people coming and going from the house. So there's a couple of things that you can do ahead of time, and I think the main point here is plan for it. Be aware that you have these other family members that you need to take care of, and sometimes we forget about that when we're planning for these house guests. One of them is if you have, especially indoor-only cats or dogs that have a tendency to run outside, make sure your guests are aware of that. Maybe even put a little sign on the door, or keep your pets in a different room from the rest of the company. Just like for us, this can be also a very stressful time. So if you have animals that get more stressed out by loud noises and lots of people, plan for that. Sometimes that can be as simple as just keeping them in a different room until things settle down. In some cases, it's worth even picking up maybe a light sedative from your veterinarian, that kind of thing. And make sure they have a place to escape, so that they're not trapped, with kids running around and that kind of thing. And some pets do great with that, but others need a chance to escape, just like us. We need a chance to get away sometimes. And then the cool thing about Thanksgiving is that there actually are some good things that you can do for your pet just as you're preparing food for your family. Pumpkin's kind of a neat thing, and we often talk about this at Halloween. But a lot of people have pumpkin pies and things like that. And pumpkin's actually a very cool food that you can feed your pets. Very, very high in fiber, and this kind of applies to humans as well. But fiber is an interesting thing in that it helps regulate digestion. So it helps not only with things like diarrhea issues, but it helps with constipation as well, which is kind of counterintuitive. Everywhere fiber goes, it pulls water with it. It can help, to regulate digestion. It's highly palatable, so most dogs and cats like it. And we're talking, canned pumpkin, not pumpkin pie filling.
Yes, exactly. I was just going to make
or actually fresh pumpkin is okay too. But giving a spoonful or two of that, and always start small. Make sure your pet does tolerate it, because just like with us, it's not going to be right for every pet. Pumpkin contains a huge amount of nutrients, beta carotene, vitamins and minerals. So it's actually kind of a neat neat product. So you can slip a little pumpkin under the table too. And then I actually put together a little recipe for a treat that you can make your pet this holiday. And this is a good thing to kind of get
cool.
And what do you call this?
So this is a Conn toy recipe. And there's lots of different variations on this. I think the website, well, if you check out our website, you can find some more links, or just Google Conn toy dog recipes. But the nuts and bolts of this is you start with a Conn, which is those little kind of rubber toys.
Right. The indestructible ones.
Right, exactly. and depending on how indestructible you want it to be, they make different types of Conn. So make sure you know your pet. But you basically just get your Conn out. You make a little bit of oatmeal. You stuff it with oatmeal. You can chase that with some cottage cheese. You can chase it with some pumpkin, and then pack in a little graham cracker at the end. And that can be served either warm, or you can put it in the freezer and have a couple on order and serve that up to your pet. And the cool thing about that is it takes them a really long time in many cases to get to the food, so it kind of keeps them occupied, gives them something to think about. It's very safe, and you know, it makes them part of the festivities. So.
And you can give that to your guest as well.
You could, you could if you wanted to. Yeah.
I don't know if they'd like that.
Definitely have to try that one out, because my dogs love their Conn ball. So.
It can make a mess, so just make sure you keep it on the linoleum or outside.
All right, very good. Well, if you have a question about your pet's health, email it to askthevet@kcoy.com. And thank you, Dr. Joel Conn. We certainly do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.